All right, I want to start by giving all glory, honor, and praise to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, Bahashem, Rekakwadash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles and teachers and wise men of great millstone that I learned this truth from through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua. Salutations to the elect out there. All right, I want to do a quick lesson showing you that the so-called white man is Esau by giving you an example of one of the characteristics of the so-called white man, Esau. The Edomites. All right, let's start right here. Before I play the video that I came across, I want to start right here in Job 30. Let's start at verse 1. All right, it says, "But now they that are younger than I have me in derision, whose fathers I would have disdained to have set with the dogs of my flock." That's because these Edomites, they're vile. All right, verse 2, it says, "Yea, whereunto might the strength of their hands." Like, yeah. All right, let's read it again. Verse 2, it says, "Yea, whereto might the strength of their hands profit me, in whom old age is past." Job was in his affliction, but he was describing these Edomites. All right, it says, "For want and famine they were solitary, fleeing into the wilderness in former times, desolate and waste." Who is Job describing? The Edomites. Let's read it in another version. All right, this is the let's see, this is the ESV. It says, "Through want and hard hunger they gnawed the dry ground by night in waste and desolation." All right, and you're going to see an example of this in the video. It says, this is the NASB 20. It says, from poverty and famine they are gnawed, they whom gnawed at the dry ground by night in waste and desolation. You see, the AMP, it says, "They are gnawed with want and famine. They gnawed the dry and barren ground in in the gloom of waste and desolation." All right, let's continue to read. All right, this is verse 4. It says, "Whom cut up mallows by the bushes and juniper roots for their meat." Verse 5, it says, "They were driven forth from among man." Who are they? The Edomites. "They cried after them as after a thief." Let's read this in another translation to get a better understanding. It says, in NLT, it says, "They were driven from human society." You're going to see that in the video. "And people shouted after them as if they were thieves." Because the Edomites used to, back then, they used to steal and go into the caves and in the holes of the earth, which you're going to see that in the video also. All right, let's see. Let's read on down. Then we're going to play the video. All right. Verse 6, it says, this is the point. It says, "To dwell in the cliffs of the valleys, in caves of the earth, and in the rocks." Let's read this in another version. And after I read this in another version, in a few other versions, I'll play the video. All right, it says, NLT says, "So they now live in frightening ravines, in caves, and among the rocks." You're going to see this in the video. Let's read another one. It says, NIV, it says, "They were forced to live in the dry steam beds, among the rocks and in the holes of the ground." You see? All right. Let's read one more translation. All right. RSV, it says, in the gills of the torrents they must dwell, in the holes of the earth and of the rocks. You see, so you get the point. All right. Let's give you an example of Esau, of the Edomites. All right, let's play the video. So lock it, bear with me. Let's adjust the lighting. So lock it. All right. All right, let's play the video.
About 5 years since COVID.
How long have you been in this tunnel?
In these tunnels, about 5 years since COVID.
For a 39-year-old man who wants only to be known as Tree, this
Walking.
is home.
They had one homeless shelter that was overran, and I just followed the tracks and ended up down here.
That place, a network of tunnels stretching hundreds of miles, originally meant to divert rainwater, and now home to an entire underground population, all living just a few feet under the bright lights of the Las Vegas Strip. How many people do you estimate are living here right now?
Approximately 12 to 1,500.
So we are 3 feet
Caesar's Palace.
beneath Caesar's Palace on the Las Vegas Strip.
You said it yourself. You've been here many times. You would never even know it was here.
I feel like I've spent so many times looking up at the lights, I've never once looked down. Rob Banghart works for Shine a Light, an organization that helps guide people out of homelessness through services like addiction treatment, mental health care, and access to housing. He comes here with a team of caseworkers every Saturday, hoping to reach people like David. Does it ever get hard to be in the dark for so many hours? No? You get used to it?
Yeah.
Rob was addicted to a number of substances and says he's now been clean for nearly 7 years. This is a world he once knew firsthand.
I was underground for about 2.5 years. I had found somewhere that I could go and be left alone and not bothered and not have to worry about the direct sun or the wind or the randomness, right? And there was a lot of chaos in my tunnel too, but it was like the devil I knew.
A devil in the darkness. Aaron, can you turn off that light so people can really feel just how dark and still it is down here? Okay, turn it on. Yeah, I mean, that is powerful. That's meaningful.
Yeah.
The choice or the circumstance that would bring you to this level of darkness, of desperation, of solitude.
We've made them feel so not a part of that they retreat underground because it's that guilt and shame. Like just walking around. I haven't showered in a year. I haven't shaved. Yeah, you feel... I lived in the same world as you, but not the same society.
Nationwide, the latest data shows more than 771,000 people experienced some kind of homelessness in 2024.
We want homes for the homeless.
A nationwide crisis playing out from New York.
Do not throw away my belongings.
Where
And as you can see, most of these are so-called white people, Edomites. You see, you don't see a lot of so-called black people, do you? In these underground tunnels, in the holes of the earth, in the caves of the earth. You see Edomites.
increase in evictions,
Or in the rocks of the earth, you see Edomites.
Influx of asylums.
Talakia. You see Edomites in these rocks of the earth. You don't see so-called black people in these rocks of the earth. You see Edomites. All right, let's continue the video, Salakia.
Seekers has strange shelters.
You gotta go!
To Hawaii, where a devastating wildfire affected thousands.
Everyone I know. Oh!
Salakia, let me go back.
You feel... I lived in the same world as you, but not the same society.
Nationwide, the latest data shows more than 771,000 people experienced some kind of homelessness in 2024.
We want homes for the homeless.
A nationwide crisis playing out from New York.
Not throw away my belongings.
where an increase in evictions and an influx of asylum seekers has strained shelters.
You gotta go!
To Hawaii, where a devastating wildfire affected thousands.
Everyone I know is now homeless.
The Trump administration has attempted to freeze some of the $5 billion allocated in 2021 for homelessness assistance. NBC News reached out to the White House for comment but did not receive a response by deadline. Rob worries recent cuts in federal funding will jeopardize services for people like Jay, who says he's lived in the tunnels for 13 years.
Why did you choose to live down here instead of live on the surface?
It doesn't matter where you go, you can't be there. I just try to stay out of sight, out of mind. So this is more out of sight, not mind, than up top.
Do you want to go back to the surface?
It doesn't even matter. I have no. Yeah, I just don't care.
A life in limbo, hidden in plain sight. Morgan Radford, NBC News.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated.
All right, I'll end the lesson here. And as you can see, the majority of those people were so-called white people, Edomites. You see, those are the main ones that they don't mind dwelling in the holes of the earth, you see, and of the rocks, you see. So that was just me giving an example of, Esau being the so-called white man, the Edomites. You see, in the characteristics of these Edomites, how they dwell how they dwell in the holes of the earth and in the rocks. All right, I'll end the lesson here. All praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rekak, Gwadash. All right, Shalom.